telling you, that's it. I mean, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I don't know why I've got static, but Amy, are we on? Are we recording? Online? Good, okay. So welcome those of you that are watching online. So I felt really embarrassed last week when we did this because it's just like we moved our offices and everything's just like haywire and stuff, right? And anyway, today I don't hardly feel any different. It's like I can't even get things to print, and I can't get that to work. And as I was telling the folks that are here, those of you that are watching online, we did figure out why the laptop isn't syncing with the big television, which I use to teach from normally. And we will have that fixed for you guys next week. Guys, I want to just share with you briefly what we talked about last week. Amy, can you turn these lights up a little bit more? I feel like I'm in the dark back here or up here. I think it's very, very interesting that money plays such a huge role in our lives. And Wayne, I appreciate what you said a moment ago before we went online. If you happen to be young, and I don't know what that means, okay? All I know is I'm 54, I don't feel young, and I would like to retire sometime. I mean, I think I can maybe almost see it out there somewhere, right? And the thought that goes through my mind quite a bit right now is, okay, well, am I ready, or are we ready? That sort of thing, all kinds of, do you hear it? Okay, I'm glad it's not just me. Are we going to be ready to retire? Are we going to be ready to do the things that we want to do? That's a huge question. I think that the bigger question for me, and what I really so desperately want to convey to you, is two things: a right hand and a left hand. And I'll say that the right hand is what we started talking about last week. And I want to review a little bit about this right hand thing, and then we're going to move to the left hand. I would encourage you, Amy, there's a wireless microphone thing. You can just pull the wireless thing all the way down, and I think that'll get rid of the static. Yeah, I think it does. Or sermon mic. Guys, the best life that you can live is a life where you listen to what God says and you say, I know that you know what's best for me, and so I'm going to listen to what you say. I'm going to do what you say, knowing that you have my best interest at stake. Period. Sean, you're, I think, a year, maybe two, a couple of years, I think, younger than my kid Matthew. And you've heard me say this illustration more times than you could come up and you could tell the illustration. You know, we used to live on Meadowwood Drive. And we had a beautiful house that the Lord blessed us with. And Bethany was getting a little bit older, but Matthew especially was quite young. And when we lived up in Elkhart area, all of the kids in the neighborhoods were girls. Now, that would have been great had Matthew been in junior high or high school, right? But that wasn't the case. So our daughter Bethany was as happy as could be, but Matthew was kind of miserable up there. He didn't have anyone to play with. When we moved down here and we moved over there in the meadows, it was just kind of the opposite. I mean, there were little boys all over the place, and Matthew was like, woohoo, let's go play, And we had a cul-de-sac. Do you remember our house over there? We had a cul-de-sac that was almost right at the end of our driveway. I mean, you could back up. And the thing is there were kids out there playing basketball and riding their bikes and just doing everything else. And Matthew was like, Dad, Mom, can I go over there and play? The problem was our house was kind of like on a bend in the road. And the thing is the cars, I'm assuming it was a 20 mile per hour zone, but they were probably going 35, if not 40. And the fact that it was on a bend, you could try to look down the road to your right and you might not see a car. Same thing on your left. So I told Matthew, I said, Matthew, I'm scared to death because of where we live that you're going to get hit by a car. And that really was like my biggest fear. And so I told Matthew, you really needed to do some things before you cross the road to go play with your friends. And it's the joke, but you look left and then you look right. And then for good measure, you look left again. Do you know why you look left again? Because that's the closest lane, okay? I may have gotten it wrong. I may have told him to look right, look left, and look right again. But, anyway, and he was supposed to do that. And I told him, I said, now, Matthew, if you do this, I think you'll be fine crossing the street, But if you don't do this, something horrible could happen. And I remember very, very clearly, and maybe that's why it bugs me so much. I was playing with a girl, Deanna Fox, down the road from our house, and we were playing tag and everything, and we lived on Midhofer. And I'm telling you guys, back in 1977 or 8 or whatever year that was, you could go and play tennis out on the road. Nobody drove up and down Midhofer, unless, I'm just saying. But as it would be, maybe just so I would have this illustration in my mind, who knows, we were playing tag and I ran out on the road and all I remember was hearing the screech, me closing my eyes, going like this. And when I stopped, I looked up, there was a car right there. And a lady jumping out of the car, so furious because I almost ruined her life, not to mention my own. And she's just screaming at me. What were you thinking? I would have never been able to live this down had I hit you. All of this stuff and everything. The reason why I told Matthew as a little boy, Matthew, you have to listen to me. You have to look left. You have to look right. And you have to look, and if you don't, I'm probably going to spank your bottom just to get that ingrained in your mind or something, to try to make sure that was inculcated right there in his brain. It's the same thing with money. And it's the same thing with sex. And it's the same thing with being good to your neighbors. God has instructions on how to do this and how to do that and how to do this well and how to do that well. All of these different things. And the problem is people mess up on these really, really, really important things. And it's like, and don't get me started, but outside of the cruise ship, Jason, outside of the cruise ship, okay? I think you know me well. By the way, you can get a lifeline from anybody, including my wife. Outside of the cruise ship, and I'll even say this. Sean, outside of the mountains out in Colorado or Utah or anything pertaining to a really good ski mountain, outside of those two places, and I could hear you say Del Hollow as well, so we'll take that out of the equation. What's my favorite place? What do I just get kind of excited about? And that's just kind of fun. And even though I'm scared that someday I'm going to be too old and it's just going to pass me by, and I'll just have to look at it from a distance. Do you want a lifeline from Amy? Do you want to take a guess? Do you know? Amy, what would you say to him? Kings Island. An amusement park. I don't know why. It just makes me feel like I'm a little kid again. Well, you know what? The Motor Speedway. Wow. Okay. So there's a handful of things. But Kings Island was like it, guys. I remember when my mom showed horses, and she would give lessons, and she would have like 15 kids giving lessons to, and I'm assuming that the Marion County Fair probably has come and gone at this point. I'm assuming, I don't know. But we would always go to the Marion County Fair. Do you know how long the Marion County Fair lasts? Not the 3 days like the Hamilton County Fair, It was like 10 to 12 days usually. And we would be there at least 6 days because all these people were taking, they're showing their horses. And so I would go there, and I'm just this little bitty kid. And Sean, you would just laugh at me. I mean, I'm assuming it's kind of like when you see the lake down at Del Hollow. Oh, there it is, and your heart goes boom, right? We would drive over that hill, the road, the hill over, I think it's 74, right? And you could see all the rides. I would break out in a cold sweat. I would see the rides and everything else. And guys, I remember, I want to tell the story really quick, though I know many of you have heard it before. Maybe none of you have. But I remember one year, it was like March or April, a couple of months before the Marion County Fair started. And I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I need to earn some money. The Marion County Fair is going to be coming up in another 5 or 6 weeks or something. And I want to go there with a whole bunch of money so I can do a lot of cool things. And so I had a ledger, and I would probably give easily $100, maybe $500, maybe $1,000, because that ledger was actually on a piece of wood. I don't know why. I think I figured I wouldn't lose it, right? It's like a deck board or something, right? And I would ask Mom, can I unload the dishwasher? Okay, you can unload the dishwasher. 25 cents. I would write down dishwasher, 25 cents with a check mark. I got it done. Mom, I need some more money. Okay, you can sweep the living room. How much? I'll give you 30 cents. Cool. All right, like that. Mom, I need some more money. Okay, well, you know what, Jeff, you're getting older, so I'm going to teach you how to go out into the barn and clean the manure out of the stalls. Okay, Mom, how much? 50 cents. Yeah, no deal. We need to ante that up a little bit. I don't remember exactly what the amounts were, but I kid you not, for I don't know, it probably wasn't April. Maybe it was early June. But all I know is on that piece of wood, when I was done, there was a list of about 25 things on there. And I did all of the math. I got a calculator, and I did all the math, and I added it up. And it equated, well, I don't remember exactly. It was close to $18, $19. And my dad, I think, was watching, kind of in a distance, wondering what I was doing, kind of curious, probably much more interested. And so it was like a day or two before the county fair was to begin. And my dad asked me, he said, Jeff, what are you going to do with all of your money? Well, I'm going to the fair. I'm going to live like the mayor of the Marion County Fair. I've got all of this money, and I'm going to go, well, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to ride rides. Oh, okay. And anything, I'm going to eat elephant ears. And I'll probably get one of those sausages. Even though they smell really good and they put too many, I didn't like the onions and peppers back then. But I'll scrape them off. And I'll get a Coca-Cola. Because I remember last year I was so thirsty, Mom wouldn't give me any money to buy a Coca-Cola. And all of this stuff, right? And I'm going to play some video games. The little crane, you remember the little cranes? And you can win a lighter, and some cool things like that. You don't know what I'm talking about? Oh, it was awesome. You put a quarter in there and you spin it one way and you have to spin it back the other way. All of this stuff. Then my dad did the best, but also the most cruel thing in the world to me, Sean. And Sean, I imagine your dad doing this with you. I just so picture this. You'll appreciate this. My dad said, okay, so Jeff, you have $18.50. Yeah, $18. We're going to have an awesome day. It's going to be the whole day. I'm just going, okay, well, hold on. He said, what ride are you going to ride at the fairgrounds? Oh, I'm going to ride the Tilt-A-Whirl, Dad. The Tilt-A-Whirl. I love the Tilt-A-Whirl. He says, Jeff, does it take tickets to ride the Tilt-A-Whirl? Yeah, it takes tickets. How many tickets? I think the Tilt-A-Whirl last year was 3 tickets. Okay, and how much does a ticket cost? Well, you know what, Dad, it used to be a quarter, but it seems like they've raised it almost every year. So I think I think it costs like 35 cents a ticket now. I think it's like 35 cents. I said, okay, so you're going to ride the Tilt-A-Whirl, and it costs 3 tickets. How long does the ride last on the Tilt-A-Whirl? I don't know. 3 minutes maybe or whatever else. He goes, okay. He starts writing these things down. He goes, Jeff, he says, you said an elephant ear. How much does an elephant ear cost? Well, I think it was $3. It used to be $2.50. I think I can maybe remember when I was reeling, it was $2. And I'm telling him all this stuff. This is what he does. He says, Jeff, I'm so impressed with how hard you worked. And the fact that you didn't go to Hegg's drugstore and spend all of your money on Whoopers, or whatever candy, because that's what I would always do. Bubble yum. Anyway. So he said, Jeff, you're going to go to the county fair. And he said, Jeff, you're going to have a whole lot of fun for 43 and a half minutes. Your tilt-a-whirl ride's going to last 3 minutes. It's going to cost you $1. The elephant ear, you'll eat the elephant ear, the sausage and the Coke, play 3 games, ride 5 rides, and it'll be done. And he said, Jeff, there's something better. You worked so hard. There's something better. He said, Jeff, outside of church camp, because I loved going to church camp as a kid. For a week, I was away from my older brother who always messed with me, and I loved church camp. He said, outside of church camp, where's your most favorite place on earth? Well, Dad, that would be Kings Island. He goes, do you know how much it costs to buy a ticket at Kings Island? I'm not really sure. I remember seeing the commercials. He goes, you can get a ticket. This is back in 1978 or 80 or something like that. He says, you can get a ticket for $21. You have $18.50. Jeff, I'll make a deal with you. If you don't spend any of your money at the county fair, and I had the cash in hand. I had shown Mom my ledger, and I had the cash. He said to me, if you don't spend any of that money, I'll give you the additional $2 or whatever, and I'll take you and we'll go to Kings Island, where you can ride the racer and the tilt-a-whirl and the barrels and the log flumes. They had 2 log flumes back then. You remember that? And all of these rides, and you can just ride them all day long. In fact, when we get there, I'll buy us each a donut, and we'll eat a nice lunch, and dinner will even be on me, and it'll be just a magnificent day. Jeff, what do you say? Well, yeah, Dad, I would so much rather do that. That's no-brainer. Now, I got to tell you, I did make the mistake of taking the money with me on that first day to the Marion County Fair. And when Mom started showing her horses, and, back then, it's like, all right, make sure you're here an hour after sundown. So I'm just like, go have fun, whatever, not like today. I'm walking around, and the temptation to spend that money was killing me. Killing me. It was like the hardest thing in the world. And the problem was, it wasn't just one day. We're at the county fair for like 6 days in a row, smelling the elephant ears and everything else. I think my mom did feel sorry for me one time, and she bought me a Coke, But, people were a whole lot more frugal back then, Sean. It's so true. But, anyway, I remember at the end of the fair, it's the last day of the fair, and Dad was at the firehouse that day. And, I was there, my brother was there, I think my brother had a girlfriend, and Mom was there, and we were watching the demolition derby that was going on the last night of the fair. And lo and behold, my dad shows up. He took off time at the firehouse. He doesn't even remember this. This is what kills me. I'm like, Dad, how can you not remember that? And he asked me, he said, Jeff, do you still have your $18.50? And I looked at him, I said, yeah, Dad, I do. I have my $18.50. He told me this. He said, and this was cool, such a God thing. He said, listen, Jeff, he said, we'll go tomorrow. I'll be off the firehouse, and we'll go tomorrow, and I want you to take that $18.50. I want you to put it in a bank. We'll set up a banking account for you where you can add to it, and we'll go to Kings Island next week, and you'll still have your $18. I'll buy the ticket. It's all on me. Now, you might sit there and you say, dude, do you think he would have really made you pay out of your own money? was this a good thing or a bad thing that my dad did? This was like one of the greatest things my dad ever did for me. I mean, he taught me how to roof houses. But I'm telling you, that thing right there, and normally I apply it to, okay, you know what? You can go and have earthly fun. This is how I usually think through it. You can go out there and do things that the Bible says don't do. You know, you could drive fast, live fast, loose, whatever else, and you could have maybe what you might think an awesome time for your short years, and they're fast, aren't they? I mean, they just go screaming by, and but you could do that. Have fun at the county fair called Earth, or you could save and choose not to partake in the goofiness of this world, and you get a season pass, a lifetime pass to heaven, you know, which is the great. That's been my illustration forever, ever. But it's also so applicable when it comes to money. Guys, if you honor the Lord with your money, you'll do well. My dad grew up in a house. Those doors, you take those doors and build a wall all the way across, and then consider this a house. That was the size of the house that my dad grew up in, with 3 other brothers and 2 twin sisters and grandma and grandpa. And they had nothing. Grandpa would say, go to the railroad train tracks, get a bucket, find coal, bring it back so we can heat the house. And when you get home from work, don't ask me if you can be on the football team. We're roofing houses. It was brutal. It was brutal. My dad sit there and he made the decision before he graduated from high school, I will not be poor. My dad's not poor. He's done very well. He's got a place in Roatan that the president of Honduras stayed at, like his place. He's done well for himself, okay? The Bible talks about, you know, the Bible doesn't say, I don't make robots. But the Lord says in the Bible that, you know, you can go and choose to live however you want to. You can live foolishly or you can live wisely, okay? And that, you know, is the left hand. We'll talk about wisely, left hand. But the Lord says, you know what? You should honor me. You came into this world with nothing. Your ability to go and make money came through what I have gifted you with, whether the ability to play the guitar, sing, act, do accounting, sell ski boats, whatever. Those are gifts that I gave you. And I want to make sure that this is God speaking, I want to make sure that I am number one in your life. And a good way that you can tell if I truly am number one in your life is whether or not you're willing to tithe 10% to me. Now, I'll tell you, Dad took me roofing when I was a young kid. I had nice things as a young kid, not because Mom and Dad never bought me stuff. I mean, I'm serious. Like a Coca-Cola, I'm not so sure how old I was when I got to be included on going out to dinner. There's a reason why they nicknamed my dad Low Dollar. And everybody penny pinched all the time. All the time. I remember when fish and chips. You remember the old fish and chips restaurant? Wow, we're living high on the hog. It's even a more generic version of Long John Silver's, right? But my dad liked the chicken planks, and he's like, we're going to go eat high on the hog, you know. I remember one of the nicest restaurant that I think I ever ate in for the longest time, I mean, I'm probably like in high school, was MCL Cafeteria. Because he was so frugal. But I'm going to tell you, my dad told me when he took me roofing, and I was a little kid, and he made money on me, and he'll tell you that as well. He made money on me. But he gave me $100, and I'm not probably 10 years old. And my dad told me, he said, Jeff, here's $100. You can do with it what you would like. You can go to the county fair or go to Kings Island. You know, you can put it in the bank account, whatever else. That's up to you. I went to Ellis Ayers. Do you know what Ellis Ayers is? Do you really? You remember Ellis Ayers? I mean, I like my clothes. I still like my clothes. But, and cologne. But anyway, he said to me, he said, Jeff, I'm going to tell you, you remember the house that I lived in? Yeah, I do. We drove by it. You showed me. He goes, Jeff, you look at how I lived when I was a kid and what we have now. It's because when I gave my heart to the Lord, you know, as a teenager, I chose to tithe. And the Lord's blessed the living daylights out of me as a result. I'm going to tell you, I've got all kinds of struggles and stuff, just like everybody else. You know, I don't know. I've got my shortcomings, but I'm going to tell you, I don't have a problem at all with giving God 10%, as He says, because I know that if He does that, He's going to bless the living daylights out of me. I remember, you know, I started making some pretty good serious money, you know, like over the summers in high school. I was working for Fox Photo Color Lab. I was roofing houses. I could also build decks. Not only was I roofing houses, I was roofing houses for myself. I wasn't getting paid by Dad. I'm roofing the houses. I'm making the big bucks. Am I going to tithe? Oh, man. I remember, no, I got to tithe. Because I would be a fool and an idiot not to tithe. And I remember like tithing that money, and then Brian Hartman calls me and goes, Jeff, you're not going to believe this. I got the greatest gig in the world. This is like the most plush thing. I mean, there's working hard for good money, but then there's like being smart and making a bunch of money, not having to work really hard. I'm talking about the latter. Brian calls me. You can ask him about it. He says, Brian, Hooks Drugs is looking to hire a bunch of pharmacy students from Butler University to go and like drive. They're going to pay people to drive like up to Chicago. They're putting them in 5-star hotels. They're paying their breakfast, lunch, and dinner, giving them a stipend, all of this stuff. And all they have to do is go up there, meet with the architects, get the blueprints, hire some high school kids, and tell them, you move that shelf over there, and you take those Pop-Tarts and you put them on that shelf. Seriously, that's like what it was. They gave us like 35 cents a mile back then. I had a Chevette that got 45 miles to the gallon. I made out like a bandit. Brian, like, no, we can drive your car. It was crazy. We stayed in the nicest hotels. They gave us like $25 to cover our dinner. I'm like 19 years old. It was like, and that's what I'm talking about. God like opened up doors and provides and just does incredible things. This is what we talked about last week. I think when it comes to money, there's a right hand and the left hand. I think the right hand is I choose to honor the Lord. And so I'm going to give to the Lord. I'm going to give to the church the 10% that it talks about throughout the Bible. Old Testament and New Testament. I talked about that. I'm not going to say any more about it. Do you have any questions about that? I'm not going to say any more. Let's talk about the left hand. Not as important as the right hand, but still very, very important. I'm frustrated and aggravated and disappointed as all get out that I can't put this on a screen for you. But I've got paper, and you're close enough, and you can see this. Sean, you and your lovely friend. Sean, I'm assuming you are, 18? You're 19? And I'm going to mess your name up just because I'm nervous. So say your name for me. Thank you, Lakin. You're what, 17? 17 years old. Okay. We're going to, just for hypothetical reasons, say that you are 25 years old. Okay? So, you know, you're out of school, You go snow skiing in Utah, Colorado. You take a cruise, around the Bermuda Triangle, and then you spend an awesome 10-day trip down at Del Hollow, and you decide to rent the coolest boat, possible, all that stuff, whatever. So, but at 25 years old, okay, time to get serious. You got your job and stuff, okay? Let's say that you take $5,000. $5,000 isn't an incredible amount of money. But I'll tell you, when you're 25 years old, $5,000 can feel like an awful lot. But I'll tell you, you graduate from college at 22 usually, maybe 23. You get a job, maybe you're still living with mom and dad, whatever else. So you know what? When you're at that age, it's not impossible to save $5,000, right? So let's say that you have $5,000 and you decide to invest that. Now, investments are interesting. There's a lot of ways you can invest. I like to invest in property. The reason why is, if the stock market crashes, I still have a piece of property. It may not be worth as much, but I at least have a piece of property versus a piece of paper or whatever else. But they say that property, honestly and truly, is not the best way to invest. They say and they suggest that the best way to invest, Wayne, what do you think is the best way to invest? But where? That's why I'm asking. Everybody says, even still today, while the stock market's not doing real great, they still say the stock market is the best place to invest your money. It's amazing. Let's do this. Let's take the last 4 years and let's just not think about those for a minute. Do you want to know what the average increase? You take you have $1,000 and you tell your broker, I want to diversify my stock. In other words, you can take some of my money and buy stock like AT&T. And you can take some of my money and you can buy stock in Apple. You can take some of my stock and buy and put it in what's his name with the electric cars? Tesla. You can, and then there's some startup companies so you diversify it. So if something bad happens to one of those companies, you're still doing pretty well. So you diversify it. Do you want to know what the average yield or increase for a year of investing in the stock market was for pretty much like 50 years, give or take a couple of big bumps in the way, but on average, how much interest do you think you could make on your investments using the stock market? You want to take a guess? Jason, you want to take a guess at all? I won't embarrass you. Amy, do you know? Do you want to take a guess? Nancy, what would you guess? You kind of worked in that area a little bit. Do you want to take a guess? Okay, everybody's nervous. This is being recorded, Pastor Jeff. I'm really, really nervous. Wayne, tell us. What do you say roughly it is? On the low side. On the low side. 14 to 10%. Rarely is it less than 10%. Rarely. But let's say that this is all kind of weird and stuff like that. And so what we'll do is we'll say that they're difficult times. We're going to say 9%. It averages out 9% each year. Now, there have been years where it's been 17 and 18%. People were having a heyday. Wall Street was just going absolutely nuts. But you take $5,000 and today you're 25 years old and you put $5,000 and you invest it. But what you also do is each month as you're working your job, so you have a job, you're making $45,000 a year starting off. Not great money, but it's good enough, right? $45,000 a year. You got your mortgage, you got all of those things. Mortgage payment. Do you know what the average mortgage payment is right now for the average American here in America today? Anyone want to take a guess? It'll actually make it a little nuts. $2,300 every month you have to pay to your mortgage, people, okay? But let's say that you decide, I'm going to take $125, not every week, just once a month. $125. And I'm going to take that money out of my paycheck and I'm going to write it to my stockbroker investor and tell them to invest it for me. And I'm going to do that every single month. Now, I'm not going to tell you when my dad retired because it'll just make you sick to your stomach. He was on the fire department, and after so many years. Sean, you guys are some of the younger ones here. So I'm just going to ask you, Sean, what do you think would be a decent year that you would maybe want to retire when you're ready to retire? What would you guess? Can I ask you, how old is, maybe I shouldn't ask that, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How old is your dad right now? He's 58? Okay, about 58. Oh, man, he had his birthday. Oh, okay, 58 years old, roughly. So, and he's still working, correct? Okay. What would you, at what age would you like to say, what, at this age, I think I would like to be able to start retiring and living off of my means that I've made? What age would you say? Upper 40s. Well, you know what? My dad was 52. So you know what? You can do that. You can do that. Okay, you're not the example that I was wanting, but I appreciate your ambitions. Jason, let me ask you the question. You're younger than me. I think you're a fair bit younger than me. You got all your hair, so you must be. When would you like to retire? What would be a magic number year that you would hope that you could retire? Okay, 70. What's been in the past the average age for people to retire? And on average, we retire when we are what? 65. Let's say 62. Okay, now you can still retire at age 45, but here's the question. Even though you retire at age 45, let's say that you continue at age 45 to, you got your little hobbies, your ways that you're making money. You're not working full time, but you continue to put your $125 in. So again, you have $5,000 you're starting with. You write that to your broker. And then you give your broker $125 every month until you retire, age 62. Anyone have a calculator? Amy, whoever can get their calculator out quick enough or fastest will win a prize. If you take the age 25 and let's do this. You take the age 62 and you subtract 25 from that. Who's really, really good? That's 30. What is it? 37. So you have 37 years. Now you take that 37 and there's 12 months in a year. So you multiply that by 12. So that's got to be about what? 400? How many months is that? What is it? Okay. Now multiply that number by 125 and tell me what that number is, please. $55,000. You invest that money, the $55,000, over the course of those years at 9% interest. At the age of 62, you take that money. Do you want to see how much money you will have? $581,000. So you're just shy of $60,000 turns into just shy of $600,000. Compound interest is glorious, except for when it comes to your mortgage on your house. And we'll talk about that. $125 a month. You multiply that by 12. How much money do you get, roughly? I got it written down. I'll tell you what you get. You get $1,500 per year. $1,500. Amy, can you take a really nice vacation for $1,500? No. Not even per person. Not really. Not really. Okay? You're talking about chicken feed money. I'm not talking about $150 a week. I'm talking about $150 a month. You invest that, you start off with like $5,000. By the time you retire, you'll have roughly $600,000. Your house will probably also be paid off. You won't have a mortgage at that point. And you will have $600,000 to go live large, quite large. You don't rent your house. You have a mortgage payment on your house, right? Okay. Nancy, your house is paid off, I'm assuming, right? Is it not quite paid off? Is your house paid off? Our house isn't either, okay? Our house isn't either, okay? We did a couple of things that we thought were wise, and people like Dave Ramsey would probably say, I don't really know if that was really, really wise. Let's talk about something else that will help you. This is left-hand stuff. You're honoring the Lord with your finances, but let's talk about some wisdom stuff that I wish somebody would have told me. By the way, what I would love, I don't know if this is realistic, but what I would love is, like, if I had a grandchild, I would love to set $50 a month off to the side. They don't know about it. Compounding interest. By the time that they go off to college, Grandpa's got some serious coin for them to help them, right? Imagine, guys, again, $125. Start off with $5,000. When you retire, if you started now, then at age 45, okay, you see what I'm saying? Here's something else. Do you know what the average cost of a home in America today is? I think it's $325. I saw some different things, and it might have gotten up to like $375. But house prices have kind of come down. They're beginning to go down, and stuff. And I think there's not as many people buying the really high-end houses as there used to be. $325,000, you can expect it to buy a house. I have a daughter that and a son-in-law that I hope I will be able to convince to watch this video so that they can hear exactly this. And yes, you can zoom in and you can see this, and I'll try to put these on the notes underneath on YouTube so that you can download these things. But let's talk about this. Most people, I don't have a number, certainly not a current number, but it used to be something like 75-80% of people, when they got a mortgage loan, they would take a loan out on their house. They would try to get as close to 20% as possible, because if you can pay 20% down on your house, you don't have to do something that's really, really nasty, horrible, and ugly and stuff. And they has 3 initials. And does anyone know what those initials are? Not to be confused with, I was just going to, exactly. All right. But it's PMI. What is PMI? Well, that's insurance on a loan, so that in case you default on your loan and maybe you don't take care of the property and you bought a $300,000 home and suddenly the neighborhood goes down and the bank tries to sell it and they can only sell it for $250,000, there's an insurance policy. You have to pay insurance. Does that go towards your mortgage? No. This just goes to an insurance company. So you want to be able to pay 20% down on a house. 20% down on $325 would be $32,500 times 2, which would be $65,000 is 20%. That's not real easy. But the thing of it is, if you're putting even $125 off to the side, maybe you're like, okay, that's my retirement fund, but I'm also going to take another $125 a month, not a week, but if you did that a week, could you imagine how quickly it would add up? Because suddenly you're taking, instead of once a month, you're doing 4 times a month. So 10 years, 40 years gets knocked down to 10 years. It could be pretty fast, right? You can do the math. But you're paying 20% down on the house. The average People, 15%. 15%. So people are paying PMI for, the first 4 or 5 years. Amy, when we bought our house, did we put 20% down? No, our first house. Nope. Did we have it? Nope. We just didn't have it. I'm a youth pastor. Amy's teaching at a preschool. We didn't have any money. We went to grad school, so we're still paying off undergrad, 4 years of undergrad, 3 years of grad school. We just didn't have it. So we did that for a little while. And fortunately, the markets went up and everything, and we what did I do? We refinanced. We refinanced our house like 2 years into it, and our house was worth like $7,000 more. We met that 20% thing, and so we didn't have to pay the PMI insurance anymore. But here's the thing. Today, if you were to get a loan, most people, when they get a loan, they put 15% down, and they get a 30-year loan. That's what they do. We bought our house. We put 15% down, and we got a 30-year loan because that was the only way that we could afford it, we thought. We convinced ourselves. 30-year loan. The payment each month on a 30-year loan, crying out loud, why can't I see? I just can't see. I'm old. There we go. All right. $1,949 a month. Okay? So just shy of $2,000. Do you remember what I said the average mortgage payment is roughly? 25. About 25, they say. Okay? So you're paying it every month, $2,000 every single month. At the end of those 30 years, do you want to take a guess how much interest you paid to borrow $325,000? I'll give you a hint. If it's anywhere close to 7 to 10% on a 30-year loan, you pretty much double the cost. So you have $325,000. You would pay $375,000 in interest. Not to pay down what you owe, just in the interest. In fact, the total cost for that loan, you're borrowing $325,000. The total cost for that loan, $701,500. But let's say we decide to do something interesting here. Let's decide that in addition, not once a week, but once a month, you decide to give the bank $200 more, and you tell them, dear bank, we would like for you to take this extra $200 and put it towards the principal of our loan. And we'll be sending you $200 every single month, until the loan is paid off, and we want you every single month to put that towards the principal. Suddenly, yes, your payment goes from $1,950 to $2,150, an increase of $200. But you know what? Over the course of your loan, you pay $100,000 less interest. And instead of waiting until July of 2053 to pay off that loan and giving them $2,000 every single month, you pay it off 6.5 years early. So 6.5 years early, you can retire. 6.5 years, you can take that $2,000 every month and put that towards a vacation or whatever else. Let's decide we're going to do something completely different. Let's say that instead of a 30-year loan, we're going to do a 20-year loan. Because when we refinanced, that's what we did. And that's when things got serious. So again, we bumped it down to a 20-year loan. Do you want to take a guess how much money we had to pay the mortgage company every single month? It was only $2,200. Not much more at all than the 30-year loan. The 30-year loan was $1,950. We're talking about $2,200. Once we do that, the total interest that we paid was not $376 or $283. We save another $80,000. Our total interest, only $202,000. And we're paying it off not in 24 years, but we're paying it off in 20 years. And the savings that you have on the loan, the first one, the total cost for the loan, $701,000. With this, the total cost on the loan is only $520,000. Now, I'll tell you what. When we bought the house over here, and when we sold our house over there and we bought this house, we bought it on a 15-year mortgage. And then we were able to refinance because the interest rates went low. And when we refinanced it out at a 10-year loan rate. We got a cheaper loan rate. Interest rates go, if you pay it off sooner, the interest rates are lower. All kinds of benefits there. Let's say that you decide that you're going to take a 15-year loan. The interest rates go from 6% all the way down to 5%. 15-year loan, your monthly payment, $2,570. Your interest, only $137,000. The total cost of the loan, $462,000. So you're only having to pay $130,000 in interest, and you pay it off in 15 years. So what am I saying to you? You guys are all my kids here. You guys are especially my kids, though. When you decide to buy a house, you can buy a big house with a huge mortgage, and you're trying to get that monthly mortgage payment to a certain thing that you can afford, and that's all great, good, and fine. But I'm going to tell you, the house that Amy and I bought, it was only 1,350 square feet. That's less than the main floor on the house that you live just by itself, not the upstairs or the downstairs or anything. In fact, it's almost your main floor is almost twice that. Your main floor is like 26. I think your house is like 32,000 square feet altogether. This is a shack. It was bigger than what my dad lived in, but not a whole lot bigger. The thing of it is we got it down to that 20-year loan that when we refinanced, we got it down to 20. And here's the thing, when we sold the house, when we moved out of it, 6-7 years later, we continued to own it, but we rented it. And they continued to pay down my interest. Did I make any money on that house? No. I also didn't have to pay any taxes on that house because I didn't make any money on that house because I had a mortgage expense. So I rented it out for $1,200 a month. Guess what my mortgage payment was? $1,200 a month. I had to upkeep it, but it wasn't that much. I was very selective. But the thing of it is, when I sold that house that I bought for $118,000, we sold it for like $200,000. And the thing of it is I had somebody else pay my interest or pay my mortgage for me for longer than I did. And then when we moved, I had money to buy the next house that we lived in. And we bought this house over here, and I'll tell you, I don't mind telling you, I think we bought it for $179,000, that beautiful house over there. We bought it. I mean, it was a mess. The people that lived in it, I think the dad went to jail. I think the wife had issues with alcoholism. I mean, we found things in that house that was scary. There were holes in the wall. We weren't sure. Amy, we thought that they had like rooster cockfighting going on in the basement, because when we went down to the basement, once we got all of the water out of the basement, there was feathers everywhere. And we're thinking, well, I don't know, I don't know. Who knows, right? Who knows? But the thing of it is we took that house for $178,000. We invested heavily in it. We redid it, rebuilt it, whatever else. When we sold it, I think we sold it for like $325,000. And we were able to buy the house that we're in now. 15-year mortgage. Sean, do yourself a favor. Either pay cash, but don't get a loan any further than 15 years out. Live humbly, live meekly. You don't have to have a house with 4,000 square foot. Buy something that only has 2,000 square foot, and then fix it up and make it gorgeous, the most awesome 2,000 square foot house there was. And then when it's time to sell it, you'll sell it more. I mean, the rule of thumb, when you buy a house, are you supposed to buy the nicest house in the block? In the rule of thumb, what's the number one rule in realty? Location, location, location. That's the number one rule. Do you know what the number two rule is? Find the nicest neighborhood that you can afford and buy the cheapest house in the nicest neighborhood. And then fix it up. Make it nice. And then sell it. And then you'll have money to buy the nicest one. Guys, we're going to talk next time. I'm going to tell you something that was like really, honestly and truly, like one of the foolish things, most foolish things in the world that we did. And I don't recommend this because people that try this, it usually comes back and bites them in the rear end. I'll give you an example of what we did. Well, I'll just tell you what we did. When we went to seminary, I was still paying Greenville College off. And suddenly, every year at seminary, and it cost us about, I don't know, $15,000, I don't know, whatever it was, a year, even way back when. And I still owed a lot of money. And now I'm spending 3.5 years in grad school, and I'm sure it was at least $10,000 or more each year for that. What am I going to do? I'm going to tell you what I did. I had phenomenal credit. Dave Ramsey would hate me to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you what I did. And then you're big people, you can make your own decisions. I had really good credit. The reason why I had really good credit was because I had a Lazarus and an LS Ayers credit card where I could buy my Lagerfeld and my Drakkar and my really nice Levi's and my really nice polo shirts, okay? And I always paid it off at the end of every single month. So my credit score was like 800, 825, something like that. I'm at seminary and I've got people, credit card companies saying, we want you to use our credit card and we will give you 0% interest for the first full year that you use it. And so you know what I did? I took $10,000 of grad school and I put it on a 0% credit card. And then at the end of that year, I would have another credit card say, you still have awesome credit, 0%, and it's good for transfers, and I would transfer it. And we paid off $30,000 of our grad school on pretty much 0%. After a while, people realized that some people are actually disciplined enough, but they would give you a 2% transfer fee. So I was paying 2%. Now, I could have got a loan from the government, a Freddie Mae, Freddie Mac, Lisa George, whatever loan, you know what I'm talking about? Fannie Mae and Freddie Frack, whatever, yeah. But the problem was the government school loan back then, 8%. I was doing a whole lot better than 8%, okay? There is something to be said. Dave Ramsey says, don't ever get a credit card, whatever else. Okay, that's fine. I think I'm talking to adults and disciplined people. Pay your credit cards off every single time. Now, there's a problem that people have, and we're going to talk about this, and then we'll be done for tonight, okay? People have a problem, with such an idea. I've got really good credit, so I'm going to get a 0% credit card, and I'm going to put it on that, and then I'll pay it off or whatever else. But the thing of it is they don't know what they're spending. Guys, I am telling you, it would sicken you. I don't know what the numbers are. I like numbers. Obviously, I like numbers. Numbers change. You go online. I mean, the problem is the internet used to be a lot more solid. Anybody can have an opinion and put numbers out there and stuff. So you have to really do your research to find out if it's really a true number or not. But guys, most people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, they're going through life and they have no idea how much money they're spending. They just have no idea. The absolute most important thing that I think you can do, more important than anything else, is to have a budget. Just a budget. And you know what? Budgets are not hard and complicated. But I tell you, if you are in high school or please tell me, Sean, please tell me that at Legacy Christian School, somebody over the course, you go to Legacy too though, don't you? Please tell me that somebody sat down in an economics class and they said, here's how you do a budget and you need to do a budget. Please tell me somebody did that with you guys. You're shaking your head yes, he's shaking his head no. I went through college, I went through high school, they never did. You want to know what's even more sad? I spent 4 years at a liberal arts school. Do you know what the difference between a liberal arts school and a state school is? A liberal arts school is supposed to teach you everything that you need to be ready to go out into the world. You get a liberal whole variety of knowledge. It's not like a state school where you have your major and they're going to throw a couple of other things at you. You have to take poetry. You have to take philosophy. You have to take all these kinds of things. Never once at Greenville did they ever teach me that as well. It blew my mind. I was so angry about that. Do you want to know who the first person was to really sit down with me and show me budgets and thinking about budgets and all of those kinds of things? Amy, do you know who it is? Would you want to take a guess? It was while I was finishing up my last year of grad school. It was Mike Courtney at Light and Life, the pastor at Light and Life Church, who really sat down and showed me the real principles and aspects of a budget and the power of the budget and everything else. I'm 27 years old at that point. It was ridiculous. You can Google a budget, okay? There's money that you make, right? I know how much I make. I know how much my wife makes. My dad knows how much he makes. Oh, I thought your dad was retired. He is retired, but he has investments. And so he gets a check from his investments every single month. His pension, his investments, he gets a couple of different checks. Nancy, you're retired, but you still get checks coming in, You should know exactly how much you make. I'm not sure what the average income in America is. I'm guessing it's probably like around $61,000 is probably the average. I think the average family income is somewhere like around $90,000. I think I may be wrong. You can Google that, find that out. But let's say that we'll have fun and say that you guys get hooked up and you guys get married someday, okay? I don't want to but let's just kind of have fun with that. So you guys make $100,000. You need to put that $100,000 over here on one side of a ledger. And then on the other side of the ledger, you're going to have your what? Your expenses. Let's talk about some expenses. What's an expense? Can you give me an expense? A car. You have a car payment? You didn't pay cash for your car like Dave Ramsey says? I get it. You have a car payment. You guys don't even want to know what the average monthly car payment is average in America today. That would make you sick. I think it's over $4,000 a month. $4,000 a month on a payment. No, $400 a month. Yeah, no, but that's a lot of money. So you have a car payment, whether you're paying cash or whatever else, but you have a car. What's some other big things that's on the budget? Rent or mortgage. We already said $2,500 is the average. I don't think you can rent anything nice in downtown Noblesville for under 18. I think the 2-bedroom right there that they just finished building, I think is like $2,100 or something like that. You can get a 1-room flat, I think, for like 16 or something. But anyway, you have a mortgage payment. You have a car payment. What else do you have? What's that? Groceries. You have groceries. We've got to eat. Give me some other things that you would have on your budget. Amy, give me some things you have on a budget. Utilities. What kind of utilities? You have an electric bill. You have a gas bill. You have a cell phone. You have a cell phone provider. You have water bill. You have a septic bill. You have a trash bill. Some of those are combined, makes it a little bit easier. You have a grocery bill. Matthew's gone. Thank the Lord. Our grocery bill is a lot less than what it once was. But the funny thing of it is now that Matthew is gone, you know what I've noticed that Amy and I do a little bit more often now that Matthew's gone? We go out to eat. So while the grocery bill has gone down, the restaurant bill has gone up a little bit. Not only that, but there's like a fast food category. There's gasoline for your car. There's insurance for your car. There's insurance for your house. You have all of these different things. Can anyone else tell me another expense that you would have on your budget listed? Clothing. Oh, Amy, wait a minute. What did you say? Tithe. What's that mean? What's tithe? You think tithe is on people's budgets? Should be the first thing. I'm talking right hand stuff and left hand stuff.
It's just like in a 401k, you do it up front, you don't miss it.
You don't miss it.
With the tithing, you're going to get it back and some.
Can't. I could have went to Ball State, studied photojournalism for free. I go to Greenville, graduate $70,000 in debt, and then I go on to, that's undergrad, and I go on to grad school, and I'm adding another $40,000 on top of that. And guys, I don't mind telling you, I'm not going to say it through a microphone that's being recorded and all over the internet, but I'll tell you what, we have 2 different treasurers, co-treasurers, 2 of them, Nancy and Wayne. They know how much money I make, and I told them a long time ago, if anyone ever asks you how much money I make, you have my permission to tell them. And if they ever ask you if Jeff and Amy tithe, you have my permission to tell them. We've been at this church for 15 years. There has never once been a year where this church, we do other ministries. We do international child care ministries. We do shoebox stuff. I mean, we give to, there's some, but I mean, just the church alone has never, ever, ever, ever been below like 11.5%. And often I think it's even much higher. Now, you want to know how much combined income Amy and I make? You don't want to know, but I'm telling you, it's not much. It is not much.
What you make is how you spend what you make.
Have you seen my house? Do you know I have a boat? Do you know I have a '69 Mustang Mach 1? No, it's old and but still that Mustang's worth a lot of money even as it sits right now. It does. I mean, it's crazy how much money. Do you see the cars that Amy and I drive? Did I tell you that Amy and I go out to dinner somewhat often? Would you like to know about the cruise that I'm taking in January, where I'm sitting up on the 14th balcony, and right outside of my door is a full spa that I have full access to every single day that I'm there. And they have specialty restaurants where I can go and eat lobster and fillets and the best food every single time. All of this stuff. There is no way on this green earth, you cannot do the math and figure out, how did Jeff get where he is? This doesn't make sense. I have a golf cart. I live in a golf cart community. Actually, I have, I almost said Danica Patrick, but it's not Danica Patrick. It's Sarah. I own 2 go-karts that Sarah Fisher owned that she would use for her drivers when they would go out to mid-Ohio, and before they would put them in an Indy car, they would say, you get in that shifter cart and you drive laps around there, and then once you get familiar with the track, then we'll get out of that and I'll put you in the Indy car. I own those. That doesn't make any sense. I go play golf. Do you know how much a round of golf costs these days? A good round of golf. You work at a golf course. How much does it cost on a weekday? Not a weekend, but just on a weekday to play a round of golf at your place. It's like almost $100. $75 easily. Doesn't make sense, guys. You honor the Lord with the right hand, and you use the wisdom that God gives you because you're honoring him, your left hand. You put together a budget. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't like credit cards, but you want to know what? My Discover card shows me, it breaks out and it says, Jeff, you spent this much money at a gas station. You spent this much money at the grocery stores. Now, it doesn't tell me whether I bought detergent or clothes or whatever else, but it'll show me. Now, if it's Kohl's, it's clothes, right? If it's Meijer or Walmart, it's probably food and whatever. But the thing of it is the best thing in the world that you can do, and it's not easy, I'm just going to tell you, you buy something, anything, you get the receipt. And at the end of the month, maybe you write a note on it so you know exactly, so you can remember. And at the end of the month, you sit down and you say, wow, I spent this money here, this money here, this money here, this money here. I'm going to tell you, it'll take you 3 or 4 months to figure out what your budget is. But at that point, at least you'll know. At least you'll know. I'll show you one of my first budgets. I still have it from when we lived in Avon and I was the youth pastor. I still got it on a computer, on a file. I'll show that to you next week. What I would love for you guys to do, and guys, you could go home and you could ask mom and dad. You could say, hey, do you mind showing me your budget? Hopefully they have a budget. Knowing your dad, he probably has a budget and goes over it like 4 times. I can picture your dad. Just, I love your dad. One of the reasons why I love your dad, he is so fiscally responsible. He bleeds over money. He knows, he thinks, he figures it out. Okay, this, that's going to cost. It's a bigger boat, more insurance. Oh, it's also more gas. Okay, he those wheels are turning. You need to have those. I love the fact that you do it as well. I do. Man, we're building this building. You're thinking through everything. I love it. Right now, guys, the interest rates, most people are making around 7% or whatever else, okay? The stock market's getting better. It is still doing one of these and stuff, but I'll tell you, talk to some people. Talk to some people about the stock market if you're going to do that. It's one of the best ways. Like I said, I've thrown my money in property just because I was scared. And honestly, it's what my dad did, and I followed suit with my dad. Yeah. They aren't making any more dirt. At least not here on this one. Maybe in Mars one day, and maybe the moon. Listen, guys, do you have any questions? I'm done. Those of you watching online, I hope you enjoyed. But do you have any questions or any comments? Anything that I shared? I mean, you're more than welcome to push back on me. I have no problem with that. I'm trying to figure it out. I like to tell people, you've heard me say this before, one beggar trying to show other beggars where to find food. I wish I was 25 years old and had not just the knowledge, but also the, what's the word? Discipline. Oh, the discipline. Obedience. You and me both. Discipline, though, is such a good word. Thank you. And the thing of it is, oh, I missed my chance. No, you know what? Just go home, sit at your computer, and type in investment calculator. And it'll ask you how much you're putting down, how much you're going to give each month, and how long will you keep the investment. And it'll show you the numbers, okay? And you can do that. It's surprising how quickly, it's never too late, never too late. I'll tell you what, 7% is pretty good. If you can do 7%, that's pretty good. They say inflation is around 2.5%, 3%. I thought for a while it was closer to 4%, but it's coming back down, okay? 7% is not bad. Our compound interest, that's your friend. So as you make money on your investment, you leave it in there so it just continues to roll and gets bigger. That's where it's good. You look at one of those calculators, and then like say you want to retire at 62, you'll make yourself sick. Well, what if I just worked one more year? Because I tell you what, it gets to the point where you're almost making $60,000 just in your investments to work one more year. So you get that's why people continue to do that. Dude, I'm making $100,000 a year at my job, and my investments make it so that I'm making $160,000. I can't afford to retire. Dude, I'm getting a nicer boat. That's why they do that. I have no doubt that's what your dad's thinking.
They keep their insurance, plus they also, they 401k to the max, it should be good.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. There are benefits in a job field. Sometimes a lot of companies will sit there and say, we will give X number of dollars into a 401k for you. Free Methodist Church does that for us. But they'll also say, and if you want to take your own money, you can give that back to us, and we'll invest that in the 401k for you as well. Why? What's the benefit of doing that? You don't have to pay tax on that money. Not until you retire. And it's usually a smaller amount, because they know that when you retire, you need that money. You can't be taking all this money from the old folk. Any other questions or comments? I would love to hear it. Do you have a thought or a question? Anything like, wow, did it surprise you how much money on $125 a month? Did that surprise you? $600,000. Pretty good. You pay $60,000 and you get $600,000. If people were smart, we wouldn't have had to give our money to the retirement. What's that called? We call when you're Social Security. Because the thing of it is the government wants to spend our money that we're putting in Social Security. And it's a real shame. If people could just be disciplined, they'll make a whole lot more money than you will ever get back on Social Security. They think. But you know what? I remember them saying it was going to be bankrupt in 2025, and it is still going. So let's hope. Yeah, and you know who the base currency is going to. China. Yeah, this is going to get interesting real hard. Listen, let me pray for you guys. I'll let you guys go. I kept you guys long anyway. Father, thank you for our evening. Thank you for just showing us, reminding us some really, really cool things. I'm so grateful, Lord, for those that came out tonight to be here in person. For those who are watching online, good things. Lord, we do love you and we thank you. Lord, I do pray you would help us. Just help us. Lord, we want to honor you with the right hand and with the left hand when it comes with our finances. I love that passage in the scripture where it says, test me on this. See if I don't pour out my blessings upon you from my treasure room in heaven. Lord, you want us to be faithful and being obedient to the things that you tell us to be about. I'm grateful, Father, for that. And I thank you, Lord, that for people that choose to do that and test you on that, they're blown away. I just pray, Lord, that especially for those that are young, they'll figure it out early in life and won't have to wait too long into life. Lord, I love you. We thank you again in Jesus' name. Amen.